everyone! In this video I'm going to show you how to layer HTV with your home iron. I already did this one and this is just my test shirt to show you guys. The previous video I did was a little sluggish, so I'm going to redo it. So the most important thing I do, I have my home iron here. I have it set to cotton linen. My iron gets extremely hot, so I always recommend that you start at a lower temperature with your iron and adjust it accordingly until you get used to how it works. I know mine gets really hot, so I know how much I have to press based on it being up as high as cotton and linen. So I'm going to show you here, I have my little Olaf, and you can see all of my carrier sheets are laid on top of each other. You cannot press it like this because all of the HTV will press into the carrier sheet below it. I like to do this first so that I can place it on my shirt and see where it's going to fit. For this one, it's not really that big of a deal because it's all one and I have my base layer, my black layer on the bottom. So that's the whole thing anyway, but I like to do it to make sure how everything's going to line up so I can see it all beforehand. Then I'm just gonna take my sheets off and I'm just going to stick them to the side until I'm ready to use them. For what I'm going to show you, I recommend, I'm using Caesar EasyWeed HTV, so different HTVs may have different settings. This is my Teflon sheet. I'm going to make sure I have this on now because I already have HTV on my shirt and we want to protect that from melting into my iron. So the most important thing is that you preheat your shirt. Caesar recommends 2 to 3 seconds as a preheat, but I always just make sure it feels warm to the touch. And now I have my shirt on a cookie sheet. I like that because it helps conduct heat from the back too. You don't have to do this, but you do need a hard, flat surface to press on. But I like it because it conducts extra heat. And I like the Teflon too because that does as well. But you can use parchment paper, a thin pillowcase, a thin kitchen towel, whichever you'd really like to do. But I prefer Teflon all the way. So I'm going to lay my first layer down, cover it with my Teflon, and I'm going to press really hard for about a second. Now I'm going to look at my HTV and very carefully pull my carrier sheet back. If that wasn't hot enough, you'll see right here, some of it wasn't sticking. And for this time around, I'm going to hold my iron this way. You see the holes? You're not getting even heat there. You're not really getting even heat anyway because of the iron, but I'm going to just press for another second that way. That's a wider area, so it's going to give better coverage. And now that's stuck. So I'm going to very carefully pull it back. Usually I only need about a second, but because I didn't press with the bigger side first, I needed to just do that area a little bit more. Now I'm going to lay down my next layer. Depending on how many layers you have, you can sometimes double up on them, which is what I'm going to do next for the rest of the pieces. Just make sure that none of your carrier sheets will be overlapping, and I'll show you on my next one. I had to cut one of my carrier sheets down a little bit to prevent that from happening because it will stick. Any HTV over another carrier sheet will stick to that carrier sheet. That is from personal experience that I can tell you that. So now that's down, I'm going to just press down for a second. And again, carefully peel back. If you see it wrinkling a little bit, then put it back down and press again. I'm familiar with my iron and I'm familiar with Caesar EasyWeed, so I really know, see right down here, that wasn't enough, but that was closer to the tip of my iron. That's okay, I can leave it because it will press down when I put my next layers down. So what I'm going to do first is I can see that this carrier sheet right here is a little bigger, so I'm going to make sure that my nose is down first. You're going to make sure that you're only pressing each layer for about a second. Depending on your iron, it might take a little bit longer, but it should not be more than a few seconds. Now the biggest thing to remember is that HTV shrinks a little when it's heated, especially on 100% cotton shirts, and that's why you're needing to only do it for a second. I'm going to have to cut down one of my carrier sheets a little. See right here, I don't know if you can tell that well, but it's overlapping onto where the other arm goes. I'm just going to cut it down a little so I don't have that interference. I could have put this under there, but it's just much easier to cut it down and not worry about it. Now after I do this press, I'm going to notice that the lines from my carrier sheet pressed into the HTV below it. But when we do our final press, those will go away. So it's very important to make sure that you do a final press. And you can see down here my white piece did press down a little more. Now Caesar recommends 10 to 15 seconds for a final press. So I'm going to go ahead and do 10 seconds first and see how that went. Now you can set a timer, you can count in your head like I did, it doesn't really matter. And oops, I forgot his nose. I forgot the carrier sheet on his nose, so that did leave a big line. So I'm just gonna put my Teflon back down and just press it out right there really quickly. Well, that didn't do a great job. I'll press it again because I don't want to overheat it. So I'll turn my iron down and I'll press it again in a little bit. But I want to show you guys the final results. See, it's all layered. And you can see up close in his mouth, you can see the pattern, the texture of the shirt through your HTV. That's when you know it's adhered well. But make sure you can see it through all of your aspects, all parts of your HTV, in the arms, everywhere, because the iron doesn't heat evenly, you have to make sure it's in every part. See where that is? I'm going to press that out when I turn my iron down a little so I don't overheat my HTV. But that's it. That's how you layer with your iron.